We are joined now by Jamil Jaffer, founder of the National Security Institute at George Mason University and a former White House counsel under President George W. Bush. Jamil, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me on, Kelly.
So let's talk about these talks that were set to happen over the weekend. You know, the president has said in the past he wants Iran to have a bright future and that the U.S. did appear willing to lift these sanctions that have really crippled Iran's economy. Now Iran's saying that these most recent actions could not have been carried out without the United States' involvement. Israel telling reporters this was coordinated with Washington, this most recent attack. How do you believe these developments may be shifting or potentially ending any conversations to that end moving forward?
Well, look, it's hard to imagine Iran getting in a conversation with the United States over a nuclear deal while these strikes continue. Obviously, we've seen one set of strikes last night. Israel has indicated, the prime minister has indicated that this may not be the end. There may be additional strikes against Fordo and other locations. So we'll see if this continues. If it does continue, it's hard to imagine them coming back to the table. At the same time, they weren't really putting a very reasonable deal on the table. President Trump had made clear at one point that he wouldn't allow enrichment. Then his envoy said maybe they will get enrichment, and they went back and forth. And so there's a lot of lack of clarity about what the U.S. position was. That may have actually caused the Israelis to decide to go forward faster. That might be part of what's going on here. So we'll see how this plays out. I can't imagine real discussions taking place over the weekend, although President Trump is putting pressure on Iran, saying, you better come to the table. Now's the time unless you want to see more strikes.
Yeah. So Iran's supreme leader vowing that both Israel and the U.S. will pay a, quote, heavy price. What predictions do you have as to how Iran may retaliate? We've already seen some of these drones. And it appears also that these strikes from Israel's side, they were meant to decimate not only nuclear capabilities of Iran, but also their ability to fight. Can you speak a little bit about the chaos Iranian leadership is experiencing at this hour as well?
Well, Kelly, we saw something really interesting. We've seen over the last few months, Israel going after senior leaders in Hamas and Hezbollah, identifying the top military and political leaders of those organizations, identifying where they are and taking them out brutally. They've now done a very similar thing to the Iranian regime, at least on the military side. They've taken out 3 top military officers, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the head of their emergency forces. Those are senior military officers. Now, Iran obviously has a large military. They will be able to restaff that, but they're going for a decapitation strategy. And so we'll see if that's a successful effort. In addition to that, what you're seeing is strikes against the nuclear facilities, particularly at Natanz, a couple other research facilities as well. We haven't seen strikes against Fordo, the deeply buried facilities. There are those at Natanz as well. And we hear that there may have been strikes against Arak, the nuclear reactor, the heavy water reactor that creates plutonium. So we'll learn more over the next few days. We're also hearing interesting reports, Kelly, about the way that Mossad infiltrated Iran and launched attacks from within Iran against the regime. That obviously is embarrassing for the regime. They may very well need to strike back. They'll try to do it to their proxy forces, but those proxy forces are on the run with Hezbollah and Hamas significantly harmed.
Yeah. And Iran's Ayatollah has always said, death to America is not just a slogan, it's a policy threatening to wipe Israel and the U.S. off the map. At the same time, do you think Iran is viewing targeting the U.S. in any way right now in this weakened state that you mentioned as complete annihilation of the regime?
Look, it's a great question. They can't come after the U.S. in a really effective way at the end of the day, because if they pick a fight with us, it's a fight we will absolutely win. The challenge for Iran, though, is they're trying to figure out, how do they react to this? Do they go after senior level targets? They try to kill Americans in America. We know they've previously targeted senior American leaders from the prior Trump administration in the U.S., trying to conduct attacks against them. President Trump has pulled security for those leaders. Iran may have an opportunity to go after these people, and if they do, that could be very damaging, one, to U.S. credibility, and two, could get us in an actual war with Iran. So if they were smart, they won't do that, but we'll see what they do going forward. They may try to go after the Israelis as well and conduct these attacks through those proxy forces.
Yeah, so many aspects of this to monitor. We're also keeping a close eye on the financial markets. You can see in the red this morning reacting to this back and forth now. And in just a couple of hours from now, the president's set to attend a National Security Council meeting. How does the U.S. ensure the safety of Americans, both abroad and at home? We have about 30 seconds. I apologize, Jamil.
Well, Kelly, we got a big gathering happening here in D.C. That may be a target for the Iranians. And then, of course, senior leaders. The government has to protect its people. It's really important we assign protection to all the people who might be under threat by the Iranians.
Yeah. All right, Jamil Jaffer, it is great to see you. Thank you very much for weighing in.